everyone to our first meeting in November. It's November 14th. I'm glad you could be here. This is a very important meeting of our training sessions because today I'm going to show you how to use our online lab environment. Okay, our online lab environment is located at vecompetitions.stanley.edu. And I will show you that, and we'll send it to you also, so don't worry about having to try to remember that. It is a system that allows you to do online labs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It allows you to have access to a large number of labs. Right now, I have you only in one class, okay? In fact, I'm going to go to the system, and I'm going to log myself out so that you can see the main login screen. Those of you who, again, last year may have been part of the competition, remember how heinous Java is. We'll be so glad to know that we don't have Java in this system anymore. But you will see this is vecompetitions.stanley.edu. Your username for students, your username is your email address that you use to sign up for Neticat. Now, I know we've got some students who have used their BB schools, and there's going to be some issues there, and I'll have to change your competition's username. But if you have a non-BB schools email address, and that was what was used for your Neticat account, then that is what you will be using for this. Again, if you will, please mute yourself. Please mute yourself if you're not. You don't need to talk.
Like write down your email, just so you'll know how to log in.
Okay, so Brad, I had to mute you, so just let me know. It will be your email address. For me, it's different. For instructors, it is the username I gave you during our training session, which is your first initial, last name. Initial passwords are Cisco, okay? So for your login, it is your email for students. All right, let me do this to make sure I get students. The login is your Neticat email address. Okay, and the initial password, and this is true whether you're an instructor or a student, the initial password is Cisco123. Okay, so this will be the site, and this is how you will log in. What I want to do is I'm going to show you myself logging in first. So I'm just going to actually log in my student account. And then I'm going to, let me close these so it won't be on the screen. You will see this is where you will go when you first log in to the system. You will have a screen that just says you have no scheduled lab reservations. To schedule a lab, you simply click on New Lab Reservation. We try to keep it simple. You're not going to see all these classes right now. The only class you're going to see is the BB Ethical Hacking class. I will be placing you in the Red Hat course for labs, and I will be placing you in the Security Plus course, so you can do those labs. But right now, you will just have the Ethical Hacking class. You will click on Ethical Hacking, and then you will be presented with all the labs that are available for you to actually do. And you'll notice there are 20 different labs. We're going to do Lab 1 today as a group so that I know that you can log in, that you have no problems, and you're able to access the system. To actually schedule a lab, you simply click on it, and then you pick a pod. Now, here's where the new system is a little weird. It looks like there's only 4 pods, but if you will actually click here, you'll notice that there are 32 total pods. So you can schedule your lab on any of these. Now, before all of you jump in here, and I know how students are, don't go in right now and do a schedule because I've got a list. If you are at Bayside and you're one of the 5 students with Aaron, you're going to divide among yourselves pods 1 through 5. So, in other words, Aaron's students will log into the vecompetitions.stanley.edu system, and then they will go and schedule a lab, and that's the wrong button. They will go in and schedule a lab, and they're going to be using pods 1 through 5. So, any way they want to, her students there want to do it, they can actually open those up. So, I'm going to go out to 32 and just show you scheduling a pod. Okay, I'm going to use 32. You want to click at the red line because that's the current time. and then you want to tell it how long you want the lab to be scheduled. Now, I'm going to go ahead and schedule this out for 17:30 for 2 hours and 49 minutes. Actually, I'm going to go a little bit further than that. Let's go to 1800. That'll give us 3 hours and 19 minutes. Once I click submit, you will see that I now have a reservation sitting here, and I can enter the lab. So for you, again, click New Lab Reservation. You'll click VB Ethical Hacking, and we're going to do the first lab, Reconnaissance with Nmap and AMAP. You click there, and you're going to pick a pod. Now, one of the things I want you to be aware of, today we're clicking right at the red line. But let's imagine that you have time this weekend, because I'm going to give you an assignment to do 4 of these labs before we get back together in 2 weeks. So this weekend, you know you've got time in the afternoon. So you've got time, let's say, at, well, in the morning or whatever. Let's say we've got 1900 or 1800, so 6 o'clock. You can click there. You can click there and you can schedule time. Now, the maximum reservation length is 4 hours, but you can schedule up to 4 hours. So you can schedule in the future. All right, who has got? Are there any questions? Charles, I just muted you. Any other schools showed up? If you have, please put in the chat, and I'll give you pod numbers too. But right now, what I would like to see is Bayside, you're using pods 1 through 5. So the students who are there should log in using their student email address and a password of Cisco123. It will then prompt you to change your password. Change it to something you can remember.
Kelly,
all right? Yes.
I just got an email from Sarah and Lori over at Kempsville. They said they're having trouble logging in.
To what?
To the Cisco Academy. I checked their password,
okay.
And it looked like it was the correct password, but I wasn't sure. I think she sent a screenshot. If you want to take a peek and see it.
Okay, let's.
You want to get them started, and then I'll let her know.
Yeah, let's do that, and just tell them. Okay, are they having trouble getting into WebEx, or are they having trouble getting into netacad.com?
The WebEx.
Oh, okay. Can you forward them the link again?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, that should work. I don't really know, but let's get this done, then we'll worry about that. I'll get these logged in first.
Okay.
All right, so Bayside, pods 1 through 5. Lansdowne, pods 6 through 13. Tallwood, 15 and 16. Kellam, 17 through 22. And Green Run, is pod 23. So what I should be able to do here in just a minute is I should be able to, not open up that, but I should be able to look in here and see your reservations just like this. If you will look right now, since I have a reservation on pod 32, you can see there's a reservation there. So I would like for all of you to log into vecompetitions.stanley.edu and make a reservation using one of the pods assigned to your school for Lab 1, which is the reconnaissance using Nmap and AMAP. All right? So let's get that. Go ahead and do that. And I'm going to stop sharing my desktop for a second. Actually, I won't, because you're going to need these particular items. So let's go ahead and get you making those reservations. And I'll hop over here and try to grab.
Hey, Kelly. Kelly.
Any reservations being made? Give yourself at least a 3-hour reservation. There's one. Okay, that'll work. Even though it's a little short, that'll work fine. Yes.
Kelly, it's Amisha. Did you want the mentors to log into?
Yes. Go ahead for the mentors, and you go out and use from 31 back. So let me do this. That'd be 31, 30 for the mentors. Yeah, so this way you can have it too. So the pod for the mentors is this pod. Thank you. Let me say and think about that. All right. And then this is 29, 28, and 27. And I think you're using pod 23 already, William. I think that's what you're using. So if you need another pod, you can go to 27. If not, then. And Charles, I see your camera's on. If you can turn your camera off, that would save us some bandwidth. Just there you go. Thank you. And again, I wouldn't ask, but I'm using my phone to run this. Awesome attendance, by the way. I'm extremely impressed that we have this number available today. All right, so let me go back here and look. I should be seeing reservations showing up all over the place. Okay, we got a couple here. Yep, they're starting to show up. Oh, somebody on 933, you mistakenly put it down too far. Notice where your reservation is. Your reservation doesn't start for another 30 minutes. So you really need to click all the way, make sure you click all the way up at the red line, otherwise it won't be now. The red line means start right now.
Kelly, I can't get in. This is Christine at Kellum, and it is telling me that my username and password don't match. And I'm using a username that I created for Netacad. Is that correct?
Nope. It'd be your first initial, last name, and Cisco123 is your password.
Okay, I'll try again. First list.
Let me check to make sure you're actually in here, because you were at our training, weren't you?
No.
Or were you not? Okay, you may not even be in here then. Oh, I got to go back in as an instructor. Okay, so let me add somebody here. I gotta add this too. Give me just a second, folks, and I'll get her in there. Making sure I spell your name right. M-A-L-O-N-E-Y. Okay, so Christine, it'd be C. Maloney and Cisco123 is your initial password, so try that. All right. First Colonial has 6, okay. So let me give you your numbers. Hold on just a minute.
Okay, listen up for your number.
Well, you're getting a series of numbers, so it'll be pod. We're running short on pod numbers here. We'll have to give you. You're going to have a couple students share pods. So you're going to have 24 through 26. So you got 24, 20. You got 3 pods. So you may have to put 2 students in each pod just to have one of them log in and look at it. Okay.
Okay, no problem.
And again, this won't be as big a deal when we get to where they're doing the lab on their own, because we won't have 32 students on the system at the same time. We could.
If you have one student who needs to log in.
For the BE?
Netacad.
Okay, we'll have to get that later. You'll have to send me an email and I'll send you a code for them to use.
Hey. Alrighty.
Because, yeah, we'll make that happen.
Kelly, can you hear me? This is Sandy.
Yes, I got you, Sandy.
Hey, all my second-year students, the ones that signed up last year, can't log in, but the first-year students can. They can't get into Net Academy either for some reason.
Oh, your first-year students can, but second-year students can't. Did you, the students that you had from second year, did you just let them add themselves with the tokens? We'll have to deal with that later, Sandy. But it sounds to me like with those tokens, they should have used "I have an account already" instead of creating a new account.
Yeah, they should. They just told us they can start testing the fire alarm, so I'm going to mute.
Oh, God. Okay. All right. So let me go back in here and see what we got going on in terms of reservations. Looking good. Anybody having trouble getting into making a reservation? Everybody.
Okay, now I missed that part. Do I need to make a reservation?
Yes. And your students need to. It's more important that your students do it than you.
Okay, so the students need to make a reservation to use the pod.
And they do that by going into schedule, and they'll do schedule a lab for myself. Okay, and then go to
what is the link to the schedule?
The competition site is vecompetitions.stanley.edu. So it's right here. vecompetitions.stanley.edu. Student logins are their NetAcad email address, and Cisco123 is their initial password. For instructors, it'll be your first initial, last name, and same password.
Hey, Kelly, I just wanted to let you know that Kempsville is here. They're going to use the chat function, though. They are having some trouble with their microphones, so they may need some pods assigned.
All right. Well, we got a problem. We're out of pods. Okay. All right. Let me go back here. Instructors, Neil, if you haven't made a reservation, don't make one yet. I'm going to take the instructor pods away. If you haven't made one, instructors, click I'm finished. Okay, Kempsville's here. How many people do they have? We'll have to just start getting folks in it when time starts, Teresa.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many they have, but she's going to use the chat function to communicate.
Okay, so I'm going to give pods 27 through 31, or I'll just do 27 through 30 to them.
This is Christine at Callum, and I am still trying to make a reservation, and it says I have no scheduled lab reservations, but I can't seem to figure out how to get there to make the lab reservation.
Okay, so you, well, I'm going to go back and log in as my student account. All right, so you're logged in, and you go to the button that says New Lab Reservation. Then you click on your class, which in this case you only have VB Ethical Hacking. Choose Lab 1, and then pick the pod that you want to use.
Okay,
be aware.
Hang on right there for a second, Kelly. Christine, were you able to at least get that far?
Are you getting logged into ve.competitions.edu?
Yes, I'm already logged in.
So click
and
New Lab
Reservation. You were able to choose the class?
Okay. All right, so yes, I chose class 1. And
Lab
then, 1. Lab 1. And I am pod 17 through 22, correct?
Correct. And if the instructor at the site wants to just pull the pod up, we can do that with one instructor. I was trying to get the students where they could do it too, though, individually. But Make sure when you select your pod that you select right up at the red line, otherwise it won't start yet. The pod doesn't start until the actual time. Like I said, whoever did 9:43, that one will not start for another 15 minutes or so. The good news is this is a pretty short lab, so it won't take us long to do the lab.
Okay, so Christine, are you over in pod number 17 now? Are you able to actually make your reservation at that red line?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
you can?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Here's the reservations I'm seeing.
Callie, what's the username for student?
It's their email address for their NetAcad. So it's their email address for NetAcad. Whatever they have in their profile for NetAcad. Okay, any questions? Hello? Did I just lose everybody? Teresa?
I'm still here.
Okay. Start saying. I was like, oh dear Lord, no, I hope it didn't go offline.
I think they're all just focused on their pods and
Okay.
working that out, yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's no problem. And the system, it takes a little while to get used to it. It's a whole lot easier than it used to be, trust me. Once you get into the pod, or once you have your reservation and it's time for the pod to be available, you will have an Enter Lab button. One thing I want you to notice is be very aware that the lab's only, when you schedule the lab, like Amon has done only 33 minutes, he really only has 23 minutes to do the lab right now. The reason is because the lab, at the last 10 minutes, the lab will actually kick you out so it can reset everything back to a base standard. So I would always give yourself at least an hour and a half for a lab. It also sometimes takes a little bit of time for the lab to boot up. So we've got a couple here, like Joseph, you're probably going to get knocked out. Jack Gray, you're going to get knocked out. And definitely Joe, you're going to get knocked out because in the next few minutes, you know, like I said, you got 22 minutes. But we'll go ahead and get started on it so you can see how the lab works. Just be aware next time you do it, like I said, give yourself at least 2 hours, which is what I showed there at the beginning. But if you do have a reservation, go ahead and click Enter Lab. And you'll be presented with this. This is our basic topology for this course. And this course is the ethical hacking course. And honestly, a great deal of the competition tools that you will use are based on tools and techniques that you learn by doing the labs in this particular section. All right. Many of the items talked about in later courses as we go through them, when we talk about ethical hacking and what hacking is, those tools are going to be in this particular system. The neat thing is every single one of these labs, when you click on content, the labs have a pre-built set of content that you can look at. Okay, and it literally walks you through everything you need to do, and we're going to do that. You'll see here's our topology. This is completely sandboxed. You can do anything you want. If you do the lab and then decide that you want to do something different with Kali and you want to run some different scans or you want to play with things, have at it. This is yours to play with 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until next June. So you can learn Kali, you can learn Security Onion, any of these tools as much as you want to use them, okay? This is reset at the end of each lab, so you don't have to worry about messing anything up. You cannot mess anything up. Now, you may lock yourself out or mess something up in that respect, but you're not able to mess it up for the next student who wants to go in. So everyone right now, if you haven't already, if you have a reservation, click on Enter Lab. Okay, and you will be sitting here. Now, again, I'm going to show you the content. One of the things I do, since I have dual monitors in my office, I actually open the content in a separate window. And I do that so that I can pull the content over on one monitor, and then I can put the actual lab itself over on another monitor. And that's a lot harder to do in this situation because I've only got one laptop here. But you will see the lab, what it tells you to do. I'm going to actually close this so we can see it. This lab in particular is about reconnaissance, which is one of our main things we do when we start any type of security penetration scan or any type of security assessment. You'll notice that one of the domains that we have here for ethical hacking is that we need to learn about footprinting and reconnaissance and scanning networks, and then look at what tools are available, such as Wireshark, Netcat, all of those. And obviously there's also some SANS GPIN objectives that are here. So these are all the objectives in different security certifications that map to this one lab. As we scroll on down, okay, you can read here, it tells you this lab introduces Nmap, the network mapper, and its usage to perform basic network port reconnaissance and scanning. We also look at another tool, which is AMAP, or application mapper, to determine what applications are running. And in this lab, we're going to use Nmap and do reconnaissance, and we're going to use AMAP and do reconnaissance. So these are two ethical hacking tools, and they can also be unethical hacking tools, let's be honest. They're just tools that allow you to do scanning. Word to the wise, do not run these tools on your machines in any environment that you do not have permission to do that on. Again, you have full permission to do it on this system here, but don't do it at school because it is illegal. Here are the different machines we have in here. We have this Kali Linux box. We have an OWASP, which is actually a box that is designed to do online applications that are insecure. Security Onion, which is a box that has security tools on it, and OpenSUSE box, and then there's a pfSense firewall in the middle. But we've got the usernames and how to get in these and what usernames are needed. But the great thing about the lab is it is actually going to walk you through exactly what to do. So right now, if you're sitting at this particular image, it says click on the Kali graphic. So click on Kali. You will notice it's going to open up the Kali window. If nothing's there, click in there and hit enter. And it prompts you for the username. And we can see enter root. And then for Kali, the base password is Tor, root and Tor. Congratulations, you've just logged into your first Kali Linux security exploit box. Quick question. How many of you are at this point right now? I'm going to bring the participant list back up. Are there any questions on that? Let me see, we've got pods there's the pods we should be. Anybody not able at all to get in? And again, you can go back and review the recording that I will send out in a little bit. But okay, no questions. Everybody's good. You're logged in. This is really a neat system because we have the ability to sit down and play with this Linux box in a sandbox environment. So what they want you to do is they want you to click on the terminal window and then type man nmap. Now man is short for the manual command, and nmap obviously is the program we're going to use. Just about any program that's installed on Linux, if you type man or go to the manual pages, it will take you through and tell you about what the program is. Okay, it will tell you about all the different switches for the program. So this is a very good place for you to start and review and read some of these particular items. Now, we're not going to spend time right now on this since we are somewhat limited in time because I know you've got about another hour hard stop. But we are going to walk through the rest of the lab. This manual page is for any command you don't know. So if you're in here in Linux and any particular command you don't know, like let's say AMAP, which is our next program, you can man AMAP and it will tell you what AMAP is. So pretty much any application in Linux that you don't understand, you can or don't know, you can man it. All right. We are actually going to launch Wireshark. So everybody type Wireshark, which is step number 8. Okay. It may take it a few seconds for Wireshark to pop up. And if you do get an error message, just click OK, but Wireshark should load. Oh, there it goes. It just took it a while. It's in the background loading back here. But Wireshark is a network protocol analyzer / sniffing tool, which lets you capture traffic going back and forth from a device. We'll learn later as we move through about promiscuous versus non-promiscuous mode NICs, network interface cards. But right now, what we're going to do is we're just going to capture traffic coming to and from our Kali box. So as we see here, in the capture panel, select each 0, so right here, and then click Start. And now, on the Kali box, you're capturing all traffic to and from this box. I'm going to stop right here just a second, pull up chat, and ask if anybody has problems. Did Joe get in his pod, Charles? I'm pulling participants up. You can take yourself off mute if you have questions or want to chat. How many of you have got Wireshark running? If you've got Wireshark running, raise your hand. You can click that down at the participant. Just go, yay, I got it, yay. So I'm waving at you with it. I got it. So if you've got Wireshark running on your students' pods and they're in, let me know. Okay, Joe got in. Good, 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 good.
Hey, Kelly, Kim's still initializing. Their computers are still initializing, so they're coming in. But if you don't see anything from them, that's why.
Okay, I'll pause here then until they get in. It takes, and that is a very important thing, Teresa and everyone. When you create a reservation, it's going to take about 5 to 10 minutes for the pod to boot. So figure that into your time frame too. So you've got 10 minutes at the end to where the pod's going to kick you out to do its recovery or reset work. You've got about 5 to 10 minutes in the beginning. So if you do only an hour reservation, you really only have around 40 minutes, less than 40 minutes to do your lab. So always schedule an hour and a half pretty much when you do these. Okay. So we'll kind of pause here. Everyone else, are you up and running? Let's see. Pod are still okay. Pod's initialized, no problem. 1 of 5 is in Wireshark. Okay, good, good. Quick question, and you can type this in chat or otherwise. How many of you have used Wireshark in the past? Has anybody? It is an excellent, excellent program. It's one that you really are going to have to know if you're going to be in networking at all. So, all right. Let's see. Two students have good. We're not doing anything funky with Wireshark in this particular lab. This lab is just to show you the traffic from Nmap going out and coming back, so that you see that. Okay, I'm gonna wait about another 2 or 3 minutes. And Teresa, it's 12:10 here on the West Coast, so that puts us at 3:10 there.
Yes.
And we have a hard stop of 4, right? Or right before 4?
Yeah, for most of the students, because
okay.
there are activity buses and stuff like that.
That's fine. I just want to make sure I've got a hard stop then of 12:50 here. That's good. That's what I need to know. I could go as long as we need to, but I want to make sure they get to the buses. So, All right.
Great.
Okay, I'm going to actually now move on so that we've got Wireshark running. What they want you to do is actually minimize Wireshark, and that's going right to step 10. Then we're going to open a new terminal window. So we're going to open a second terminal window, and you can just right-click on it and go New Window. And you get a second terminal window that's running above. And this is the window we're actually going to run Nmap in. And we're going to do a very noisy scan. We're going to run Nmap, okay, and Nmap space 192.168.68.12. So what we're doing, if we look at the topology, is we're actually running a scan from the Kali box here down to this OWASP BWA box, which is just it's really just a box that's been set up for you to attack or you to scan. So we're going to send a scan that goes all the way down through the firewall over here, and will return some information. In this case, with this particular scan, it goes out and finds all the open applications that are running on that host. So we just figured out by scanning that host that all of these services are running, okay? You're going to learn as we move forward, and that's one of the reasons why we are studying the networking course. You need to know how TCP works to understand that SSH is a service that runs on TCP port 22, and it's open on that host. So if I'm a hacker, or even if I'm a white hat or gray hat or black hat, one of the first things I need to know is what services are running on my systems so that I can protect those services, so that I can what's called reduce my surface area to attack. You know, I've got a lot of these. You can look here. There's a large number of services open. We actually have a scan that Stanley has to do on all of its systems from the state, and they deemed us because we had a server that had SSH open on it, and it had a version of SSH on it that had a vulnerability. So we had to go in and update that SSH service, and we actually had to turn that SSH service off until we could get it updated. So this is the type of thing that people are doing in the real world. Now the beauty of this is, if you'll look at it, if I go back and click on Wireshark, you see all of the traffic. Now look at this. There was nothing here before I did this Nmap scan. Look at all of this traffic that was generated. You know, there's Synax, all this traffic that was generated from my machine 9.2 over to 68.12. And you can drill down and actually look in this traffic and see what's here. And we'll go into more detail on that. What they're really wanting you to do at this point, though, is just see all the different traffic, these Synax, and how this scan forced 68.12 to respond, and by using that information, Nmap is able to figure out all the open programs on that machine. Now, why is this going to be important for you in our security competition? Well, one of the things that we're going to possibly do is we may ask you to do a simple Nmap scan that says, hey, tell me all the hosts that are on a particular network. So if I look here, and I'm going to go over to the 192.168.0.0 network. I'm going to scan a different network, and this is not part of the lab, but I'm just going to show it to you. 0/24. Okay, I'm going to scan this entire network. What Nmap is now doing is Nmap is sending a series of scans to every single IP address in this range. So basically from 0.1 to 0.255. And you'll notice that by scanning this network, I found two hosts that are up. 0.100 and 0.254, which, by the way, if you look at the topology, 0.100, 0.254, and I should have 0.2 also, it's in there. So I found those hosts, and 0.2 did not respond. That's interesting. Okay, so 0.2 did not respond. That's because I bet it's because it's not running any of the TCP. That's what it is, not running any of the TCP protocols.
But it is telling you that you had 3 hosts up, though, right?
Yeah, it did say 3 hosts. One, let's see, that one's down there. Yep.
Huh.
But it's not showing any open services.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So we know we got 3 hosts, but it didn't find any of the open services because these are all TCP-based services. Which we'll learn here in a minute. There is a way to do a UDP scan. You can actually do UDP, which is another type of protocol. So. Oh, there it is. There it is. 0.10254. Nope. Yeah, there it is. I'm sorry. I'm blind as a bat. There's 0.2. Trust me, I'm looking at my little bitty laptop screen. Getting old is tough. It's better than the alternative, but when you need glasses and you don't have them with you. So there's 0.2, there's 0.100, and there's 0.254. So it actually found all 3 hosts. Now, we're not going to give you a nice pretty topology and say, oh, here are the 3 hosts. I'm just going to say you've got to find out the number of hosts on this particular network. Well, here's a way you could do it. You could run a basic Nmap scan of the entire network, and it will tell you what's on that network. All right. Likewise, where we did a single host scan, I could have done 68.0/24, which scans the entire network, and it would go out and find all the hosts on the network with the OWASP box. In this case, it should really just be 2.12.254 because it's picking up the pfSense firewall that's there. And the firewall will eventually respond. So this tool, Nmap, Network Mapper, allows us to, especially with this basic scan, it does a TCP SYN scan, SYN flag. Now there are all different types of scans that are available. So I'm going to go to step 15, and here in just a second we're going to clear our capture on Wireshark. Yep, so we got two hosts. So it did find the two hosts, 68.12 and 68.254 on that network. So this is an example of a basic TCP scan with Nmap that gives you the open TCP services, and it also gives you what hosts are up and running. Questions before we clear our Wireshark scan? I got the chat up just in case anybody has chat, or if you want to unmute yourself and have a question. Are you completely lost? Are you unimpressed with this system? Actually, it's pretty cool with the way it is now. You actually do have access to all these boxes. Just click on them and you can see them. It will take you back to each one. Again, those of you who were part of the contest last year will know this is much better than having Java. All right, let's move to step 15 then. So we've done a basic scan. We've seen all that information inside of Wireshark being captured as those TCP SYN and reset syntax. We're going to go to capture, and we're going to restart it, the capture, but we're going to click clears out everything that's in the window. So now we're going to minimize it again, and we're going to run a different scan, okay? We're going to run what's called a TCP Connect Scan. So we're actually going to run an Nmap-ST, which is a Connect TCP scan, to that same host, so 192.168.68.12. Hit enter, and you'll see, boom. Now, you got most of the same information that you had before. This is actually a little bit different simply because when you get a Connect scan, it means that when you look in Wireshark, it actually sends a SYN, SYNAC, and an ACK, and so it gets a full connection to the host before it resets it. So it's just a slight difference there. So you see all the SYNAC and SYNs. So these are examples of Wireshark making a true connection attempt on the system. Pod 23 is still initializing. Okay. Hit refresh. Just refresh the whole, reload the whole page and see if maybe pod 23 would be up then. Sometimes on occasion it gets hung on that. But. Okay, and then let me know. So this is a different type of scan that we can do, which is this TCP Connect Scan. Now, quick question. How would I find all of the different switches and types of scans available via Nmap or with Nmap? Anybody? You can put it in chat. You can turn on your mic. How would you find them? I've shown you one tool. What's other ways? Anybody? Nobody has an idea? Well, one of the ways I showed you was simply man Nmap. And then you will see all of the different types of switches that are available. By the way, we just ran a -ST. So if you scroll down here, ST is a TCP Connect Scan. A lower S, so scan type of S is a SYN. Now, let me show you something else. Oops. Google. There's a thing called the Holy Google. I don't know if y'all have heard of it or not, but common Nmap scans. Look at that. Nmap cheat sheet. How would you like to be able to figure out how to do port selection? Scan a single port. There it is. Scan a range of ports. Scan 100 most common ports. Okay. In other words, folks, one of the most important things you can learn about being in the security field and being in IT in general is you're not going to know everything. You will not be able to remember everything. The key is to be able to remember where to get the information or how to get the information. So there's two different ways you could have gotten it. Now, you've obviously, it would be nice to have this committed to memory when you come to the competition, but real world, if you forget how to do an Xmas scan, okay, you know it's SX. Okay, so I can actually roll in here now and say, oh, I want to do an Xmas scan, which, by the way, if you're running any type of intrusion detection or firewall, an Xmas scan will light up the intrusion detection because it is a very, very loud, noisy scan. It goes out and turns on all of the TCP flags. All right, but those are different ways that we can see that. Okay, try an open pod then. If pod 23 is still initializing, I'm gonna pop out and just see what I see. Pod 23. There should be still some pods that are available. If they are, pop out and try a different pod. Yep, sure is. Here's one of the cool things I can show you though. I can go into other people's pods. So like right now, I'm just gonna drop in a pod, random pod, not trying to pick on you. But I can go in your pod and I can actually see what you're doing, which is kind of cool. So I can see that you're not logged in. So it's neat that as an instructor I can actually go in and see what you're doing. So if you are having an issue and you're in a pod, tell me what pod number it is and I will jump over to your pod and I will take a peek. So pod 23, William, obviously is not working, so jump over to that and I'll make a note to check pod 23. I made all these pods last Friday and checked. Actually, I think I did boot all of them, so I'm not certain why that's not working. Just remember this too, if all computers and all technology worked all the time, we wouldn't have a job. So it's important that stuff breaks on occasion. All right, so let's scroll on down a little bit, and we're going to do a little different scan again. I'm going to clear Wireshark. So go to Wireshark, go to Capture, and Restart, and we'll get a new clear. And we're going to do now a scan that's the Nmap-F. This will do only the 100 most popular ports for applications. One of the things to think about as you are looking at being in security, you may be hired someday to do a penetration test. You want that pen test to be as realistic as possible for an example of how a true hacker would try to get into the system. A true hacker is not going to run a very noisy Xmas scan or even a normal Nmap scan. They're going to try to focus down to make sure that hopefully the intrusion detection system won't block their scans. This scan, this Nmap-F, brings the scan down to a smaller level so that you can able to go Nmap-F 192.168.68.12. And it's going to show you it only scans the 100 most common, and you'll also notice how much faster that was. Now, it gives us the exact same information because all of these are pretty much common ports. They're being used for devices. All right. Nmap also has some really cool things in that it has the ability, by the way, the up arrow just puts the last command that you last used back on the command prompt line or the terminal line. If you do SC, what this does is it actually goes out and runs a scan that looks at a set of general or default scripts with known vulnerabilities for applications that are out there. So it actually takes a little while because you got to go through and do some, actually run the scripts or run the scans, which takes longer. But what it will try to do is find vulnerabilities on the applications that are on these devices. Let's see, Brad, did you get into a different pod? Were you able to find another pod and use it? Anybody else have questions? Everybody's muted, nobody's saying anything. Okay, look at this. This particular scan went and looked at the SSH service, okay, and didn't find anything that it could really see wrong with SSH. This, however, it found on port 80, it says broken web applications, and says that there's actually possibly a risky method being allowed, trace method. Goes down here and you see these different. So it actually went through and found problems. So 443, it's not Cisco. And it's not completely, it's not always going to be true. So this is trying to say it's got 443 open. So it's a Cisco AnyConnect or ASA device. Well, this is not. This is a computer. But it tried to make a good guess at what it was, and it's wrong. So your tools are not always going to give you correct information. You've got to be able to look at what the output is. Brad, you haven't been able to get in, okay? I don't know what the deal is on that. We'll just have to check into it. Your students can use this from home, so they can use it from anywhere that has an internet connection. So here's an example here. We've got a guest user in SMB, very dangerous, and it tells you that. So with this command, with this particular scan, this -SC, it looks for vulnerabilities. All right. Here's another really good one. This is one we use a great deal, and it's the -A. And what this does is it identifies the versions of the software running on the ports. This one's really neat because let's imagine that we know that OpenSSH version 6531 or whatever has a known vulnerability. Well, if we can run this command and we find out, by the way, by looking at this, look exactly what it does. It goes through and it says, let me find my, a little too far here. No, let me scroll back up. Here, I'm just going to do it like this. Be easier. Do it quicker. And it's still searching here. But we can see, let's go up to the top, and we'll see right here, after Nmap A. Look at this. We're running OpenSSH 5.3, okay? So using this -A command, I can learn what version of certain server daemons are running on the system. And then I will know if they're vulnerable. And we're going to learn another tool later called Metasploit, where you can actually deliver exploits that will then break into the system using this information. Likewise, as you go on through here, it can show you what versions there's SSH. This shows you that on port 80, it's running Apache version 2214. Do we have a question? I think somebody come off mute. Do you have a question? Brad, do you have a question, or Neil?
Computers to see if that was the problem.
Okay. It shouldn't be, because on my end it wouldn't open up. So, but if it's two of the same pods causing problems. Anybody else having problems with their pods? You can put that in chat if you are. Okay. So this -A is really useful. Brad, if you will, Brad, mute yourself until when you need to come back in. Okay, thank you. This -A is extremely useful because it tells me, like again, here's Apache 2214. I know what vulnerabilities there it's susceptible to, so I can attack that. Here's OWASP and a version number, which is a broken web app, so we know it's broken. But this command can be run to figure out what is actually running. And here's another important thing. Look, we're making a guess that this is actually Linux running on a machine that's Linux with a kernel 2632. So we can use that to also attack the underlying operating system. This, folks, by the way, is the entire lab as far as using Nmap. What the lab does now is it walks you through doing pretty much the same thing but with a different protocol, AMAP. So I'm going to do AMAP-A 192.168.68.12. Notice what this does, though, we can actually specify the port, and it will only look at that particular port, and then it will go back and tell me what the particular program is running on that port. So this tells me that, hey, on port 80 TCP, Apache is running. And again, type man AMAP, and you can get all of the sends triggers analysis response, and it goes through and just shows you all the different switches used by these commands. So right now, all of you who are logged in, go ahead and do section 2 on your own. So just go ahead and walk, do this part of the lab right here. You can do a banner grabbing, which is really cool. That's port 22, which is SSH. So just go through and do section 2 using AMAP for reconnaissance on your own. And I'm going to bounce around different pods and just see if you have any questions. So just jump in different pods. And oh, you're on. Actually, Noah, you accidentally did social engineering attacks. Okay, that was the wrong lab. We're in lab 1. I can actually do this. I should be able to cancel that lab. It won't let me do it because I'm not. Oh, that's the one extra pod that's having issues. 23. So now, so you're in here working on Kali. All right, so go ahead and go back and actually go through and do the lab, the part here. So open up your console, and you can actually start doing the lab. That's another cool thing as far as instructors. Down the road, I can give you access so you can go into your students' pods and be instructors on their pods. Are there any questions? I don't see a lot of people working on the labs. So one of the things I want you to do is I want you to be walking through the lab here with me so that you've got me here online to help with any questions you may have about the system. Oh, have I lost everybody? Are you there?
This is Christine from Kellum, and some of my kids' time went out. I guess they didn't change the time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, make sure, again, that you give yourself at least an hour and a half, so that's what happens. Now, here's the great thing. This is, I am going to give them an assignment to do over the next 2 weeks, but they can do this from home anytime, so they should be able to. Now, here, obviously, I see he's loading a new pod reservation.
Real quickly, I still have kids loading the pods when they have logged in quite some time ago.
Okay, well, I will have to take a look and see what's going on my end. So
I have a question.
I'll boot all the pods and check them. It could just be we booted all the pods at the same time and that was an issue, but go ahead.
My 2 kids that just got their seat tickets today, they have not gotten access, I guess, to the
Correct.
Right. So when will they have access?
You need to send me their username, the email address that they used for their NetAcad.
Okay.
And I will put them in.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yep. Anybody, and that goes for anyone who was added after this morning or today, I will have to manually create their account for them.
And we're just going to give up because every pod we try, we just keep spinning and spinning and spinning.
Okay. Well, I will check that. I know they do work, and I will check to make sure it's not something with the pods on the upper end of the reservation numbers, but I will check all the pods and ensure that they work. Like I said, I built them last week, and booted them all, but it looks like maybe, yeah, I've got active pods. Let's see, pod 3 is still initializing. Okay. I will take a look at the ones that are not initializing, but there's a good number of them active. Pod 14's up. I see pod 15's initializing. Pod 11's initializing. Pod 3 is initializing. And then I've got pod 27, 28, 29, and 30 all initializing. So that looks like maybe on my upper end there's an issue there. Okay. So I will work on those to make sure everything's hunky-dory on that end. Okay. Now, here is one thing I want to do. I want to make you aware that inside the pods themselves, we do have 32 available pods that you can use. They are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I want you to be aware that I would like for your students between now and our next scheduled meeting, which is in 2 weeks, I would like for them to go into this system, and I would like for them to complete a couple labs. I'd like for them to complete the first 4 labs in the system. Okay. Now, when we look at those first 4 labs and we look at scheduling in the ethical hacking, that would be the reconnaissance with Nmap and AMAP, social engineering toolkit, Metasploit framework, and then pen testing with NICTO and OWASP. These labs, again, give yourself about an hour, hour and a half. Honestly, most of them you can complete in an hour, but I would give yourself at least an hour and a half time frame to do it. But I'd like to see labs 1 through 4 completed by the next meeting so that we can have any questions that you have about using the system and any questions about how this is going to work from here on out. I want to make sure that they have access to it at home and that it is working for them. Any questions? No questions at all? You see all, hear all, know all?
I think we're good over here at Callum.
Okay, we're about 10 minutes out. I see somebody doing some scanning. That's good. Very good. We're about 10 minutes from the end of today's session. So I want to open it up for questions. We'll stop sharing. Open it up for any questions, any information that you need from me, anything about the system.
Yeah, we still have the problem with the second-year students. I'm sending it from Mr. Robertson, by the way.
Right. Okay. And you're talking about second-year students not being able to get into NetAcad, correct?
Well, you can get into NetAcad, right? Yes. So we can get into NetAcad. We just cannot get into the competition server.
Okay. The competition server is the email address that you used to get into NetAcad. Yeah.
Right.
Let me ask you this. What's your name?
I'm Nick. Nick,
Nick, what is your email address?
It was, I think, what41 at gmail.com.
Hold on one second. Let me do something. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. All right, recording.